Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk podcast, here every Tuesday and Friday. And next week, also Wednesday.
Oh.
Because we're doing WrestlePalooza predictions.
You're having a predictions palooza. It's a podcast palooza next week.
That's what it is.
At WrestleTalk.
I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Dan Layton.
Hello.
D-A... No, oh my God, not D-A-D.
As far as I know.
D-A-N.
To my knowledge, zero D-A-D.
Of course.
Let's keep it that way.
If you haven't already. Yeah. So if someone has had your child, you just want to be ignorant.
Just ignorance is bliss.
If you haven't already, please give us a subscribe wherever you are consuming this podcast. It could be on YouTube. It could be on Spotify. It could be on Apple Podcasts. Or, really exciting news,
Huge.
We've got a new distribution deal.
Oh, I cannot wait.
This is actually, because we've set up so many deals, I forget about them.
Yeah.
This is a comment from last week's show from Geltzer7. It's actually really weird how I found you guys. I seen a poster for a missing cat the other day. I felt so sad. Later that night, I actually heard a noise from my kitchen. Lo and behold, it was that missing cat.
Wow.
I hadn't taken down the phone number or address from the poster, so I went to check his collar. Attached to his collar was actually a small USB drive. I plugged it in, and this podcast came on. At the end of that version of the podcast, Ollie was saying the cat's address. Got that cat home safe, and you guys made a new fan.
It's wild how these things happen, isn't it?
I imagine 2 new fans, Geltzer and the cat.
And the cat, yeah. Love that.
So yeah, please do keep sending in where you are finding this podcast. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm terrified by how far this bit's going to go.
Oh, it's just getting deeper every week. Last week, someone, and I've actually got an update from them later on, in their son's surgery. They found us in the medical forms.
Great. Oh, good.
Yeah. But anyway, we are talking about AEW Dynamite. We're doing the review later. But to start, we are asking the question, has WWE gone too far?
Be less vague. Like, this could have been the question for the past decade.
Yeah, but I think it means different things in different years.
It means different things in different days at this point.
In 2019, has WWE gone too far?
Right.
It's probably about dog food angles. In 2015, it's probably about the treatment of women's wrestling and they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
But today, this year, it's about WrestleMania 43 taking place in Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia, literally this news popped up on my little feed as I was going to bed last night, and the only way I can describe it, I think this says an awful lot about this discussion and where we're at, is I just went, yeah, of course.
Well, the Royal Rumble in January it's Riyadh season.
Yep.
When is Riyadh season? I've consulted
Honey,
a
every
calendar.
day is Riyadh season, if you believe.
I'm like, it
They're
never
gonna
ends.
hate
Of course we are quite nervous, and I certainly won't be travelling to watch any of these shows because the man who is the lead of the General Entertainment Authority, Turki Al-Sheikh, who's the person who makes most of these announcements, has a prison wing nicknamed after him for all of the people who criticise him online.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Goodness
No,
me.
it's not officially
A literal
his,
prison wing.
his wing.
Got
but
it.
there are enough people
Right.
that have been imprisoned for criticising this guy that people colloquially refer to that area of the prison as the Tutu Wing because his nickname is Tutu.
Oh,
That's the guy we're dealing with here.
Yeah. It's a rich tapestry, isn't it? It just gets better.
Anyway, we should point out how this announcement was made, which is a cluster F, because a Snapchat advert. Because I don't know, is Snapchat big in Saudi?
Snapchat's big in the kids. Like I just with all of my new friends who are in their like mid-20s all using Snapchat, and there's me going like, I thought this died 10 years ago. Turns out it came back.
Maybe an interesting distribution service for the podcast.
Could be.
In Saudi Arabian adverts
specifically
on Snapchat.
That would have been good for this week.
But yeah, God damn it.
Should we start again?
Should we Jey Uso it?
Roll it back. Roll the tape.
But yeah, someone saw an ad of Turkey Al Sheik, the Tutu, as
Tutu.
his friends call him, and his enemies.
Political enemies.
He appeared to announce the WrestleMania 43, which is the 2027 WrestleMania.
Yes, so we just had 41, 42 is in Vegas, 43 Saudi.
Will be coming to Saudi Arabia. Then that ad seemed to be pulled, but PW Insider followed that up, confirming the news that a press release was issued in Arabic,
Right.
but then it was retracted when they realized it probably got released too early. But yeah, that was the announcement that WrestleMania will be taking place in Saudi. And then Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer corroborated that, saying that the entire WrestleMania weekend, unsurprisingly, will also be there. So SmackDown, Raw, and that the deal is worth approximately $100 million. This hasn't been officially announced by WWE as we are recording this, but by the time you are listening to this, via whatever platform you're using, it probably is official.
Yeah. I just cannot say I'm surprised by this. I feel like there's
and isn't that the great victory of sports washing?
Genuinely though, that's it. That's what this is for, is that you ultimately wear us down. I think when they announced back in, what was it, 2017, 18?
Yeah, around then, yeah.
They were going to do like a 10-year deal. That felt like an eternity. And I think there was a little part of us that was like, wow, they're getting so much bad PR backlash that eventually, they'll do this deal, they'll probably bash out a few of them, and then they'll be like, oh, we've done that now.
They killed a Washington Post journalist, allegedly.
Yeah.
In 2019. That was the real, I would say, peak of mainstream awareness of various sports and entertainment companies doing business with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. It's not a great thing, and yet it's working. I keep hearing about footballers, like to separate it from just being a WWE thing, because I feel like it's important to say, obviously with WWE Focus being a wrestling podcast, it's not fair to put all of the blame for sports washing at the feet of TKO. It is FIFA are doing, the 2030, get into this, the 2034 World Cup is going to be held in Saudi Arabia, and the way that
is that a big thing? Is that like the WrestleMania of football?
Yes, it is. The World Cup is fairly big in football.
Every year, I presume.
Well, every 4. They leave you they always leave you wanting more. But like the way they pick the host is infamously corrupt. That's how we ended up with the Russia and Qatar 2018-2022 extravaganza. But they have these rules that say, if you have hosted the World Cup, if your confederation, i.e. your continent, has held the World Cup the year prior, you now can't do it again. So if England hosts the World Cup, France, Germany, Portugal, etc., et al., they can't host the next one because it needs to go somewhere else around the world. And the idea of that is lovely, because it's like, wow, we're taking the World Cup, making it world. But they made it so that the 2034 World Cup is going to be held by Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. Now, that makes sense. Those 3 countries are relatively close together, and they do like multi-nation hosts, even, it's a financial thing. But that cancels out the continent of Africa and the continent of Europe.
Smart.
They've also given 2 matches to Uruguay and Paraguay. That cancels out America, and we've got America coming up, so it's like you can't do... So basically it says the only places that can host it are Oceania and Asia. So... Saudi Arabia, the door is yours. It's literally only you are going to host the World Cup. And you would think that they would have learned lessons from Qatar 2022 and the incredible backlash that got, and the thousands of people who died making that football tournament happen, and all of the people who didn't necessarily want to watch that tournament, and it had a bad vibe around it the whole time. Now we're just going to do it again. The sports washing experiment has worked. Riyadh Season being everywhere, it being an accepted sponsor, it being a thing. It just is. So I can't say with any conviction that I was surprised by this non-announcement announcement. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is inevitable. It just is now.
Yeah, I think as soon as they announced the 10-year partnership,
you kind of had to expect.
Like, they're getting so much money, particularly after a Royal Rumble was announced.
But also, particularly, I think the current leadership, to take away my personal hat and put on my purely business hat, have done a remarkable job that the previous regime utterly failed at. They presented your super showdowns or your shows where it was like, oh, we're going to have Taker Goldberg, and
It's
or
a
like
big match.
the Brothers of Destruction versus DX,
The greatest Royal Rumble.
goodness, all of this nonsense that was going on. These guys have now just made the Saudi shows part of their show. So rather than it being a weird aberration where we would all watch a sort of like, and you could get away with not watching it because it wasn't going to be essential viewing, it's now just part of the narrative. They've done a really good job of making these shows so normal so that WrestleMania in Saudi just sounds like, yeah, that's exactly what was going to happen.
We spoke on the Raw review this week about how women's matches don't feel like they're there for any other purpose. It's just like, oh, yeah, it's a women's match. Oh, the first hour was women's matches. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
And that is the same sort of drip feeding. You don't notice the minute hand moving on a clock because it just moves so gradually, but it does move. But that same sort of mental, what do they call it? Is it like step laddering process, or just people getting used to an idea, can be used for more nefarious business means?
Absolutely, it can. And look, that's their prerogative. And it's going to make them $100 million to host the show that they were going to host anyway. Things go to the highest bidder.
I'll point out as well that it's not just sports washing. A lot of the things we're going to talk about through a wrestling WWE context are like ticket prices we'll get into as well. It is not just WWE.
No.
It is all other sports and a lot of entertainment as well.
Concerts,
ticket prices there, but also there's a Riyadh Season Comedy Festival coming up.
Yes, there
with
is,
a lot of comedians who are supposedly for free speech, and they're going to a place that does not have the most freest of speeches. Now, they will probably argue, but, this is the toe in the door to progress this nation, which was always WWE's forefront of change catchphrase.
Yeah.
And, they can point at, well, when we started, women were dressed in pajamas, and now
women weren't on the show.
Yeah, they weren't on the show. Then they were dressed in pajamas and big T-shirts, and now they're oddly and really sexy, tight.
They are in
catsuits
outfits that are more sexualized than the outfits they normally wrestle in.
Yes, but flesh, I cannot see it.
I just can't with the world.
The Women's Royal Rumble is going to be
fascinating,
a weird spectacle in that just everyone's going to be head to toe, well, not head to toe, neck to toe in tight-fitting
leather,
lycra and leather. But you've got the comedy festival there. Well, we'll see. Maybe they will use this as a platform to exercise the free speech they say they like and criticize the regime.
Go ahead.
And make jokes about our friend Tutu.
Who's got a lovely accommodation for you.
But there's also, film festivals. They go over there, loads of Hollywood actors. You've got people like Sting performing at whatever.
J-Lo's done it.
Yeah. So it is, unfortunately, a thing because money speaks, and money pours out of the ground in Saudi Arabia.
Literally does,
through their oil. I mean, I watch a fair bit of boxing, and my mates who are more into boxing than I, they don't even see it as a thing.
Yeah.
They were like, oh yeah, but that's boxing. Boxing is always the first thing to do something horrid. And I was like, actually, wrestling beat you this time. It's got roots in gangsters and people and underground fights and stuff. But they see it as, oh yeah, but the way boxing is sort of politically, and I don't mean like world politics, I mean just politics between different governing bodies, you don't get the big fights because they can't agree on financial terms. But Saudi can come in and say, here is unlimited money, so we can get these dream matches that you would not get without our support. So my boxing mates are like, well, this is great. We get to see Usyk versus Fury. But it's ultimately quite dispiriting.
Well, I mean, it's all about soft power, ultimately, isn't it? It's all about Saudi being able to, like, metaphorically slap the dick on the table of the UN and be like, "Hi, we're
Did you
here
like
as
that
well."
match?
Yeah. Well, there's more where that came from. Talk about soft power. It's like it's all about that. It's all about sway and influence and things like that. And it is. I do feel really conflicted about it because, like, on a personal level and an ethical level, there's so many things that I disagree with, and I've been to the Gulf, I've been to Bahrain to see what was going on over there. I didn't want to just talk about this part of the world without having been there. And I've chatted to people while I was there. In fact, I was there when that first match between Natalya and Lacey Evans was happening. During that, was that the one where they got stuck on the plane? I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah. I was there coming home, and Bahrain and Saudi are joined by a little causeway. And on a Thursday, which is the beginning of the Islamic weekend, the Saudis leave Saudi and come to Bahrain because it's legal to drink there. And they go get crunk for the weekend. And then they go back to Saudi where they live their chaste, observant life. And I found the whole thing, and I was talking to people and I was saying, like, okay, so are you... there's this wrestling event going on. They were aware of the wrestling event. I was like, there's a women's match going on. I was speaking to women, and I was saying, is this, making an impact? Is there anything happening here? And they're like, absolutely nothing. No interest whatsoever. And it's just like, that's the idea of ultimately, like, they can say that to us and try and cleanse our palates as, a Western perspective. But the reality of the situation on the ground, I think, is probably very different. It's not ultimately about, it's ultimately about making things as palatable to us as physically possible without actually having to do any of it, is the way I perceive it now. And unfortunately, it's worn me down. I watch these shows and they are just shows, and I just have to go, it's kind of gross that that's happening there. But then again, this stuff is happening in, WrestlePalooza. I'm going to have to watch WrestlePalooza and see Brock Lesnar prattle about. And I have to go, that's uncomfortable. Don't like that. Oh, also, you're signing up to RFK. Okay, great. I feel like you can't, as a fan of a billion-dollar company run by billionaire people, expect them to hold your politics and care about your politics and really sort of human rights. The longer I stay alive and the more this wealth gap increases, the more, unfortunately, dispirited and worn down I get by the idea of ever them seeing anything other than their own interests.
I will just say, just because sometimes we get a few comments, we're not against a show being in Saudi Arabia. We're against the regime paying for a show.
Yeah.
That sort of, sports washes a bad track record on human rights.
The people who live in a country are not the people who run the country as well. It's the same thing. And the fans are always incredibly engaged. Like, I remember the first couple of shows, it was like, what's going on here? The more recent shows, crowds have been great. It makes for a more entertaining watch when the crowds are so engaged, and clearly it's something that works so much for the people who live there. It's just a complicated thing. Like, there's so many layers, and I feel like, I don't know.
Well, on the politics thing, I always thought not a couple of years ago, but like pre-pandemic with the Jamal Khashoggi thing, I thought, well, there's no way they can do this. Like, the backlash will be so hard from sponsors. So you got the money talking and like the fan backlash, that they'll wind that back, as we've seen with like the Mae Young Classic thing. What was that originally called? Was it the Fabulous Moolah?
Oh no, it was the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal.
Yes, right,
and they changed it subsequently to the Women's Battle Royal because there are no other women that you can name that sort of after.
And it was what's the Macho Man snack?
Slim
Jims, wasn't it? Who were pulling out. That was what made Vince McMahon step down.
Oh,
so I just thought, okay, from like the pressure of the fans doesn't
some
really
things can happen.
Do anything, but pressure of fans on sponsors, that does seem to have a tangible effect. But I don't know if a promotion's politics, particularly when it's mostly behind the scenes, I wouldn't say WWE are really every segment pushing this sort of more mainstream right look on the audience. Of course, you've got like the Hulk Hogan coming out. You've got the pictures of Triple H with RFK over SummerSlam weekend and stuff. But it's not all the time. And no. I think most viewers of WWE don't. Not that they don't care about this stuff, but they're not aware. They are consuming wrestling for an entertainment purpose, and it is largely very entertaining.
Also, like, in the name of balance, Sami Zayn wrestles in Palestine colours every single week. They have CM Punk and AJ Lee's just re-signed, and these are incredibly vocal in support of left-wing causes, trans rights,
and the Saudi Arabian regime.
Yeah, but also it's not new. I mean, back in the 2000s, they were out there doing the SmackDown Your Vote campaign. They had Obama, Clinton, and McCain on the show in 2008. They're constantly referencing in 98's Attitude Era Raw, which I watched back on the network. They're constantly referencing Clinton and Lewinsky. They're constantly referencing impeachment and all the rest of it. It's a different kind of involvement in the political landscape now than it was then. But it's not. I would say it's not pushing the agenda on you, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I agree. And it's weird coming off the previous Vince era, because in the latter 5-6 years of Vince, when Trump was in his first term, WWE stayed away from politics. They saw how divisive it was, and they actively, despite Trump being a wrestling Hall of Famer, like there's an actual legacy reason to reference him on the shows, they didn't. When usually WWE would use anything to promote themselves to get a wider audience. So it is odd to me that but also not odd, that TKO have now taken a more leaning into their political friends. But just to the larger point of, I don't think it's the politics that affects the fan base. We can talk about it here because, we're quite anal about stuff and we talk about the behind the scenes bits. But what I think what I think WWE are in danger of doing over the last year period is it's stuff like the Saudi deal. It's stuff like the rising ticket prices. It's stuff like the Prime sponsorship, the map being sponsored, PLEs having mostly adverts in, even though theoretically I have paid for this, it's not on free TV. Although that model's been eroded with streaming platforms. That is the stuff. I don't know how much further WWE can go before the audience don't quit and oh, this is outrageous. There's just too many adverts. But just that wasn't as good as the last show because it had an hour of advertising Prime.
Two things are really interesting to me. With specific regard to this, two quotes that I've read in the past 24 hours. One was Mark Shapiro, the TKO exec, who said that Vince McMahon didn't go far enough in. He didn't use these words.
Finish the sentence. Finish the sentence.
He didn't use these words, but essentially gouging families for money. He said that the prices. Vince was always so specific on keeping some family prices available, and I actually remember Triple H saying, "We'll always keep certain ticket prices. We'll raise the premium prices for the ringside experience, for the whatever, but there'll always be affordable tickets at the back." It just turns out that I didn't realize they changed what they considered affordable to what I would call unaffordable in this current economy. Mark Shapiro is basically saying we need to raise our prices because there's so much money for these suckers to give us. That was the tone of what I read him saying.
I've got the exact quote.
Have you?
If you want to.
Yeah.
So this was to the annual Goldman Sachs Communicopia and Technology Conference.
Well, that's where the other quote comes from as well. So great.
Communicopia.
Oh, I hate business.
We know we have a lot of room with ticket price increases because Vince McMahon was primarily pricing tickets for families and wasn't totally focused on maxing the opportunity there. What he's talking about in the larger context is TK obviously has UFC, and UFC charges far higher ticket prices. So they're looking at UFC and going, well, we're going to get WWE to here.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense from a business standpoint. If you see an opportunity, you maximize it, crack on. It's
I think it is funnily misunderstanding the market and audience.
I completely agree with that. I think that this is the dichotomy. It's their prerogative to do that. I don't see that as the smart thing to do long term, because this is where the other quote from, interestingly, that same conference came from, which was David Zaslav, who is the head of Warner Brothers and obviously HBO Max. AEW is involved in there. Basically saying what he said was TV is a bad user experience now. And I read the quote and I thought, I'll bring this to you, maybe see if that's something we could talk about. The rest of the article was boring, so I didn't bother. But it's interesting that it's kind of stayed relevant because his argument essentially was you log on to TV, there's so many different platforms, it's hard to get access to your stuff. As a user, it's off-putting. So we as HBO Max are going to be able to continue driving our prices up because we present a better alternative. All of our stuff is high quality. We're from motion picture to TV to streaming, we make great stuff. So we're going to be the one place everyone wants to go, and that means that we can then raise our prices, and also we'll crack down on password sharing, and also we'll. And it is just really interesting to me, and it makes sense that both of these quotes came from. I didn't realize the Shapiro quote came from the same event. These are business people talking to other business people.
It's a Goldman Sachs conference.
It's a Goldman Sachs conference. They're there to say, hey, we can make you rich people richer.
Yeah.
And it's just really frustrating to me as a consumer that the consumer experience and what makes us want to do that. I've always wanted to go to WrestleMania. I've never had the luxury of going to WrestleMania. Whether it was as a kid watching on telly, 21 was the first one I watched live, 17 was the first one I had on video. Every subsequent year since WrestleMania 21, I have watched it live. I've always dreamed of going. Vegas. Oh, maybe I'll go to Vegas and watch WrestleMania 41. Oh no, I'm in the middle of a degree. I can't do that. Oh my God, they're going to go to Vegas again. I'd love to do that. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Oh, I'm never going to be able to afford the cheapest tickets. We were having a conversation upstairs. And the idea of being there, and it's actually a huge economy for the independent scene. That's a thing with this Saudi thing. The independent scene aren't going to go and shift their WrestleMania weekend.
I didn't even think of that.
To Saudi.
You're totally right.
So like there's a whole question mark going on. That's all unofficial WrestleMania activity, but it's a huge boon for the wrestling industry. We see it over here with All In. There's an All In weekend. Oh, everyone's going to do a show in London. It's going to have a big impact. And as fans, we're constantly having our prices raised. The ticket for my SmackDown experience in 2019 versus the SmackDown if I wanted to go and see it this year, it's like a 200% increase. I can't afford to do that. And if you keep doing that and you keep pushing us, eventually, if there are ads everywhere, YouTube Premium is an example, that wore me down. I have Premium now. Because after a while, I go and watch my friends, and it's just everything that they want to show me is interrupted by 6 ads, and I'm like, oh my God, spring for Premium. They wear us down. And eventually, that dam is going to burst, and people are going to back off, and they're going to be like, it's not because I disagree with you fundamentally politically. We can do an awful lot of nose holding, but if the experience of engaging with your show, the experience of engaging with your product, as much as I hate that word, if it's bad, I'm going to stop using it.
On the ticket prices, you're right. I was looking for some evidence and some anecdotal stories. This is from someone posting on Reddit 5 months ago called Floyd Funk. They say, I just went to get tickets for Raw in July. Yeah. So it's 2025. And the price increase is insane. The price for the same seat I had for SmackDown in April 2024, exactly a year ago, was $92 with fees. For Raw today, the exact seat in the exact building is $251. Yeah. That's an increase of just about $160. Yeah. The house show ticket they had for the holiday tour a few months previously was $72 with fees. This same seats for Raw are $192. I guess you could say that's a house show compared to TV, though. But yeah, this person says they've been going to WWFE shows since 1985. And this is the first time they've been priced out, genuinely.
Because the interesting thing is, on that one, is that it is all about these rich people at these Goldman Sachs conferences getting richer. And the longer they keep getting richer, that money has to come from somewhere. And we aren't seeing the increases down us lot in the lower percentages of earners. And if we don't have the disposable income to be able to engage with the things that you're going to be making all your millions and billions from, how are you going to continue making millions and billions? I don't see. But ultimately, how do you tell someone who earns I'm thinking of it because we're currently in the tube strike at the moment, and I read that the boss of TFL got basically made twice his salary and bonuses. And then I watched a clip of an economist on Newsnight or on Question Time or one of those talking about the economy and how the deficit and all the rest of it. How do you tell rich people that they need to make a little bit less money? It won't ultimately impact them. Truly, in their quality of life, it won't impact these rich people one iota, but you tell them they have to make less money so that we can have a little bit more money to fund their yachts. It's not going to happen. I don't know what their solution to this is, other than complete societal collapse and overthrowing several different governments. I have no solutions. I just sit here and watch the telly.
I'm not going to get into it, but I think quite a robust antitrust, anti-monopoly legislation is how you do that. But to go back to WrestleMania, and the ticket prices. This is because they were. How much were they when you looked for next year
for WrestleMania?
For WrestleMania 42.
I'm remembering 300 odd for one night. It might at the very back when I was looking for 41.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that they've announced for the 42 packages. I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure it's like $37,000. It's a small it's a deposit on a big house to be able to get there, and that's with the ringside seat. You get to take your chair home, the superstar entrance experience, a ticket to a party with Paul Heyman. I'm pretty sure it was 37,000.
There was a clip earlier this year of Randy Orton meeting one of those people.
Yeah.
And she said how much she paid, and Orton was like, "What?"
Oh yeah, the
That's
wrestlers
too
don't
much.
know how much money this is, by the way. They're just doing their things.
But so WrestleMania, this is an article from a couple of months ago from Hard Rock Bet. And they looked at ticket inflation across loads of live event sports things. And WrestleMania over the last 10 years, so 10 years ago in 2015, that's WrestleMania 31, heist of the century, the average ticket price was $500.
Right.
So that's taken into account the cheapest tickets
To the
all the
biggest
way
tickets.
to the biggest
and
tickets.
when you think about how big the biggest tickets were, that average is fascinating. Yeah, okay.
But now the average ticket price for WrestleMania is $1,200.
Christ.
And that is an increase of 140%. Now, going by just the pure percentage increase there, you'd think, wow, that's ridiculous. But to zoom out and put this in the context of a larger entertainment industry or sports industry, that is only the 5th highest increase.
Right.
And the UFC, funnily enough, is at number 4. That's also 140% increase, but slightly higher. The World Series, Super Bowl, and the Grand Prix for F1, which is, exploded in popularity.
Yeah,
that's probably
massively.
more there. And Kieran upstairs told me it's also because the venues set some of the ticket prices.
Yeah, I mean, with Premier League as well, you have like your. If I go and watch my local Premier League team play against someone on a certain level, that would be like a Category B game. If they're playing one of the big 6, that's a Category A game, and those prices are different as well. So that kind of thing is into account in that too.
So it's just a set, and this is everything from MLB, boxing, the US Open for tennis, ice hockey, Stanley Cup finals, WrestleMania, UFC, baseball, World Series, football, Super Bowl. Everything, all the major sports are either 100 to 200% increase over 10 years, which far outstrips inflation. And for F1, it's 409%.
Yeah.
But that's slightly different. I think that's an outlier. So it's all of these things where things are costing more. And WWE TKO is chasing money, which is the function of
a business.
Publicly traded, specifically a publicly traded.
Exactly, yeah.
And that is what they do. The potential strategical misstep here for them is if they push prices so hard and prioritize these Saudi Arabian deals over maybe putting on the best experience. We'll see with the Royal Rumble in January. Maybe that Saudi crowd will be as hot as a London
Maybe they
or
know
a
all the Death Rebel
Toronto.
themes.
Exactly.
Maybe they know them all.
Maybe it's the best crowd ever. And then because that's what you want from a Rumble, a Mania. What you don't like, if it's a Rumble like those first few Saudi shows when people are talking amongst themselves, they're not really reacting, they don't know the
Oh my God,
product.
putting those people in their garden chairs right in the front camera. Christ.
That'll be strange. I don't think it will be that way. The last few Saudi shows have felt pretty hot, real feel. But if the quality of the shows and fans feel like they can't go to the WrestleMania like they normally would because it's in a different country, then I can see people starting to go, I'm not as engaged.
That's an interesting thing. The thing about international fans going to WrestleMania, it is such an international event. It is an event. I've considered traveling to Clash in Paris. I've considered traveling to Bash in Berlin. Ultimately, too expensive. But WrestleMania is one where it's like, if I had the money and maybe I could save and get my cheap ticket and find my cheap hotel, I'll stay in the Excalibur. I had a whole plan for WrestleMania 41. it's something that you do because it's like it feels like an experience, and it's the international. And there's in WrestleMania 17, you've got I traveled 47,000 miles to be here, and all
There's
that
nothing
stuff.
bigger for a wrestling fan.
Do you know what? Then going to WrestleMania, whether you're in the nosebleeds or not, like, and all those WrestleMania moments, and even if it's the worst WrestleMania ever, you've got this experience of having been there. I don't know that they're going to get that because, frankly, it's not legal to be me in Saudi Arabia. Like, it's not. You're a queer person. You're not allowed to be. You'll go to jail. It's not. And that's, you know, for some people, that makes no difference. For some people, whatever. It's a real thing to think about that in 2026, my favorite thing, in the year of all of 2025, my favorite thing in the world is, and the pinnacle flagship gemstone that I have watched for my whole life is going to go to a country where I'm not allowed to be. Do you know what I mean? That's really heavy.
And it's stuff like that. And going back to the tickets for families, like your lifelong fandom is probably taking a bit of a dent. I guess you're still a wrestling fan. We are talking about WWE specifically.
Yeah.
But your love of WWE probably takes a dent from that.
Yeah.
A little paper cut, a death by 1,000 cuts. And with the family tickets, the reason, well, going back to Shapiro's quote that he thinks, well, let's go the UFC way. We can charge this amount. But families aren't going to combat sport events. They're going to wrestling because it's a simulated thing. There's storylines. It's something that we all got into largely as children. Yeah. So you need those family tickets to create those bonds. Like seeing something in a live event experience is way different than watching it on TV.
Yeah.
That's the sort of stuff that really links you emotionally to being a lifelong fan. And WWE's new strategy is robbing that long-term fan base of kids who will grow up. Disney understands this very well, which is why they price things to allow people to go or to watch Disney Plus. Like you can go through the whole catalog from age 0 through to, infinite age.
Yeah.
Which is why I think, and this kind of ties back into what I alluded to about monopolies earlier. And what you said, I hadn't considered this about, where's the WrestleMania weekend in the States? There is a very interesting opportunity for AEW to be a genuine alternative.
Hey, you want to how about you counter-program WrestleMania? Like,
if you what, sorry?
Counter-program WrestleMania, but show off a whole weekend. It's not the worst idea.
Run a show.
Hey, you know what else? Time differences. WrestleMania's going to finish. And then you're going to have an evening.
Yeah, you run an evening one-off Saturday show. You invite all the promotions around the world that aren't affiliated with WWE to have that great weekend.
Yeah. If I'm Tony Khan, there's an opportunity in this press release. I'm seeing. And I would say throw every idea at the wall and see what sticks, because you're right, and it's that fan sentiment thing. Part of what made AEW so successful when it first debuted was this desperate longing we had for an alternative, and then we got it, and it was joyful, and it made WWE get better. That's why it's important to have competition. You want some goodwill. It's an open goal. Floor's yours.
Because I don't think anyone is going to stop. No one's going to not watch WrestlePalooza. That's unfair, actually. Not a significant amount of people, I believe, are not going to watch WrestlePalooza because Lesnar's on it.
Yeah.
Because AJ Lee's here. And they put an amazing card on.
And if WrestleMania is on at the same time as an evening show in America in the year when it's in Saudi Arabia and people might be inclined to turn off, you're not going to put a dent in WrestleMania. I want to be clear, that's not what I'm saying. But there are opportunities to do something interesting from a business perspective, from an industry perspective.
Exciting news, everybody. On Monday, the 15th of September, Monday Night War returns. And it is myself versus Luke Owen versus Dan Layton.
Truth is back to take his crown.
Undefeated Dan Layton.
Yeah.
The big boy's back. After Luke's beaten me twice.
Yeah. Couldn't let that stand, could I? Luke's getting too big for his boots. Too much fun he's having with his little stars. Looking like he's working at McDonald's.
So that goes live on PFK on the draft day episode on Monday. And right away, you'll be able to watch episode 1 on patreon.com/WrestleTalk.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the next 4 episodes. So that's all the TV episodes are on Patreon. And then the PLEs, weirdly, the pay-per-views are going to be on free YouTube.
Yeah.
But you want to go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk to watch the whole series.
Yeah, the
It's not
finer
like
context.
Yeah, it's not like last season where it was just early access. This is exclusively on Patreon. And also, if you pledge at the right level, you'll get a shout out and a wrestling nickname
Hello.
on this very show, like Big Jiggy Josh Martin. Oh, I've done the wrong one. Yo, Adrian, Rocky.
He can last Sean for longer than you in the ring.
Big Jiggy Josh Martin, we will have to charge you twice, I'm afraid. Starbuck Stephen Costa.
Shelled Maiden, the
Zornies. Burley Rob Burwell.
Let Him Cook, Alex.
Apoc Alex now.
The Swiss submission machine, Andreas Fuchsstaller. I'm sorry.
You can look, but you can't touch. Bella Pearson.
I'm afraid he's got some bad news. It's bad news, Bob the Ninja Goldfish.
Chris Hellfire Brimstone.
And the Blade Bearer, Christopher Sordillo.
Go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk now so you can watch every episode of Monday Night War, the new season, when it starts on Monday. Well, speaking of alternatives, we got AEW Dynamite this week, which is still taking place from the 2300 Arena.
I thought you just meant still taking
It's
place.
still
End of
happening.
sentence. They're still doing
thought it
shows.
Stopped.
Yeah.
I keep hearing from Disco Inferno that they've closed shop. What do you think of the 2300 Arena?
I think it's nice
You can
for a
be
one-off
You can be
show.
truthful.
I think it's
You are the
fun.
truth.
I am. I think it's a fun bit of history. I think it's a nice place to go and do a show. I think as a residency, do you know?
Yeah.
There are the people who have used it the most for me is like it's in the main event. I liked the Death Riders entrance today.
Oh, when they came outside
Yeah.
and into
Yeah.
and then it's like right into the arena.
Yeah.
Luke raised this point, and I agree with him. Make it look like the old ECW
Yes,
arena.
yeah.
It just looks like a fancy new
At the
NXT
moment, it's just a black box
performance
theatre.
center
Yeah.
place.
Completely.
But yeah, it needs to look grimy.
Yeah, like I mean, this is the interesting. I mean, what it was Tempest always talked about it, like the idea of like watching wrestling in 240p, because it just makes it feel better. And there's something to it. Like the shiny HD does just make and especially when you're going for brand synergy, everything looks the same. It doesn't look like a special arena. That's why if you do it once and you really go all out, make it feel that way.
There's a theory. It's behind the abysmal rating they got last week. They got their lowest
Really?
Dynamite rating ever. It was like 480,000.
And I think that's to do with the
Well, there's nothing different about it. It's just
Yeah.
that the previous week it was in the 2300 arena. A lot of people said it looked Bush League, and then not many people tune in. But
Yeah.
it was been a weird time for wrestling viewership. That could just be back to school, summer hangover.
Yeah.
But the much better presentation change, and I genuinely think this is going to be the best presentation change of AEW since I don't know how long. Bryan Danielson is now full-time on commentary.
Is indeed. I loved what he did in the Cruiserweight Classic all those years ago. I think he's good at it. I think it's going to make a really big impact. I think throughout the course of this episode there was a few teething problems and a few like getting yourself back into the swing of things. And speaking as someone who's done it, so I imagine a million times in his head he did a thing or didn't quite nail a line and then went next time I won't. Do you know what I mean? It's how it goes when you go back on the gig for a while. I think it's a really good choice.
I thought it was great in
Yeah.
this episode. The opening match was Hangman Page versus Josh Alexander. Started off really heavy hitting. There was a cool spot when Alexander did loads of German suplexes out the ring and up the ramp.
And there was one where I thought he was going to actually do it on the concrete,
Yes.
and then Hangman did a backflip.
But ultimately Hangman overcame some interference from the Don Callis family to hit a buckshot lariat and win.
Yeah, I think also it's nice to see the world champ wrestle a match. Do you know what I mean? On telly, we don't. There's a world where you keep them as a special attraction. There's a world where it makes them feel more. It makes your show feel big time because your champ is wrestling, and it makes the champ feel like someone who's working and things like that. I liked this.
And it makes sense because Josh Alexander, well, the Callis family took out Kenny the previous week, his friend. This is a blood feud revenge on one of them. And the big thing afterwards was the post-match, where Carl Fletcher comes out for a promo, says, hey, I challenge you for the AEW World title on Collision at the All-Out pay-per-view that's upcoming. What do you say? And Hangman said, I will accept, but you've got to do it one-on-one. Like, get no Don Callis involvement at all.
Yeah, I liked that it was particularly focused on the potential he has if he leaves this massive, conglomerate behind. The idea, it felt like a proper babyface challenge. It was like, I see something in you. You need to see it in yourself.
I think unless they've got a plan to have the Callis family actually get involved for the heel heat, or maybe they get involved and Fletcher's like, no, don't do that. I think it would have been better to goad Kyle into agreeing contractually the Callis family can't get involved.
Yeah, there's a little bit of honor on this, which is naive. Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think no one believes Fletcher's going to beat Hangman, but the excitement here is this is the start of the rise of Fletcher.
Yeah.
And we believe it because, as Hangman said, All Out 6 years ago, he was in the same position standing across from Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
When all of us were like, why is Hangman
that
Page? Like, who is this guy? Well, we knew who he was, but not at that level. Like, Chris Jericho makes sense. Why isn't Kenny Omega in this spot?
Yeah, it's all about creating the word aura gets thrown around all over the place. I don't like it. It gives me the ick a little bit. But like, you've got to create the star somehow. And it's things like this that ultimately over time build up and turn someone like Kyle Fletcher into a star. When you have your world champion saying, you have it. It's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's good.
Pure cinema. MJF gets a promo backstage. It was filmed after Collision, and he called his wife a silly little bitch.
He absolutely did. Didn't he? What else did he call her? Something else as well?
So this is because MJF legit got married to Alicia Atout on Friday.
She got shoot married.
Yeah. It's not a work. And he showed up at Collision the next night. Fightful Select actually had a report on MJF's week. He then went somewhere to film Violent Night 2, which he's been announced for. Then he got on another flight to appear somewhere else. Then another flight because he's going to face Mystico at the CMLL show. Then another flight to do Collision.
He's booked and blessed, honey. He's got stuff to do.
This is not the honeymoon week.
I feel like Alicia's just like, like, fine, whatever.
Having been with them in the same room.
Yeah.
She's aware what she's getting herself into. Young Bucks are in the bad catering where all the jobbers sit. It's like a big tent.
But it looked like nice vibes. Like everyone seemed to be chatting with each other, which I thought was good.
Yeah, it was a bit like a high school.
Yeah.
And no one wants to sit with the Bucks, especially the Dark Order.
Yeah.
They find Brandon Cutler. I didn't recognize him.
No.
But thankfully they said, here's Brandon. And Brandon said, shut up, Bucks. And he left.
Yeah.
Moxley comes to join them, and that made a few of the jobbers run away. I thought it was a cool visual. And he said, look, you are still Matt and Nick Jackson. Get your heads in the game. If you win the 10-person tag tonight, you'll get the full $500,000 prize money.
Yeah. I didn't think it was cool until he put his foot on the table, which, first of all, bad manners. And second of all, he realized pretty quickly, he was like, this doesn't look nearly as cool as I thought it did, so he had to take his foot off. But I like the sort of, we don't care about this money because we have fights. It was kind of nice. Yeah, I liked it.
I think it's always something WWE struggled with fine amounts. You know, when, Sheamus has beaten up some referees, and it'll be like, he's fined $1,000. And you're like, that doesn't feel like enough. But then another one, they'll be like, he's been fined $2 million. Like, but that's way too much.
I mean, it's always, this is what we always talk about. It's like, why are you ultimately there trying to fight? Like, is it for the belt, or is it for like the things that come with the belt? And I always feel like you could do a better job of putting like tangible things on top of the glory. Do you know what I mean?
I think $500,000 is so, because usually it's $100,000.
Yeah.
$500,000 is so much money.
Tony, where'd you get it from, honey?
That I think they should have announced it at least a week in advance. That's just my opinion. Because it would just feel bigger if last week, and there'll be $500,000 on the line, and then you've got a whole week of going, that makes sense for the Bucks. They've got no money. Mercedes Moné teamed with Emi Sakura to take on Rio and Alex Windsor. in a tag.
They did. It was fun.
Good. Yeah, it was fine stuff.
good.
Rio was trained by Sakura. That's why she was there. And Rio won by tapping Sakura out in the half Boston Crab, while Windsor made Monet tap again with a sharpshooter through the ropes.
And they're making a point of this because they mentioned it. She tapped recently when she wasn't legal, kind of thing. So like, that's clearly going to play into their.
And I think she
out.
tapped on the outside as well.
Right. Yeah. So
but it's Rio versus Monet at All Out.
Yeah.
So they're probably building another Windsor match over time. Ricochet and Gates of Agony set up a singles match with Ricochet and Shelton Benjamin backstage. We got a video package of Cope and Christian versus FTR. It was a weird sort of...
It was very weird.
It's like it was the Royal Rumble.
It wasn't. It
All the
was like
stats.
and Renee reading out all the numbers.
Yeah.
And the one Emmy nomination, which I popped for. That was good.
And then Stokely comes out saying that was a bull S-word video package. It's not going to be about stats. It's going to be about a bloodbath. And then they start getting in fans' faces and they punch one of the camera guys.
They don't just punch one of the camera guys. They batter one of the camera guys, which I thought was a really interesting choice for AEW, given the recent lawsuit. I was watching it like, huh.
Oh, it's a work.
Obviously it's but I was like, okay.
I didn't think that. I was too busy thinking, this feels awkward. I just didn't think this segment worked.
It didn't work for you, no.
I think they were like, ECW Arena, let's get some Dudley Boys heat. Stokely's great on the mic.
Yeah.
But it just didn't get to that level.
No.
Never felt like that. But it was kind of a cool shot that they kept cutting to Paranormal Activity style.
Yeah, on the floor.
The dropped camera on the floor.
Yeah.
Then we got Ricochet versus Shelton Benjamin, which I loved.
Oh, it was a banger.
Yeah. It was, Brian said at the start, these are two of the greatest athletes in wrestling.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
they are.
Shelton Benjamin is always, it's this weird thing of like underrated, overrated. Shelton Benjamin has always been rated. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think he's, but because of presentation, I think he has everything we all see, but then hasn't been allowed, even in like the Hurt Business, Hurt Syndicate, whatever, he's always been the sort of secondary guy.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to just watch him go and remind you that he's top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just from the very start, Ricochet hits this 450 and Shelton kicks out with a huge kick out at 2, like sends Ricochet across the ring. And Shelton just sits up and you get that Will Ospreay style camera shot where Shelton's just there looking really pissed off in the foreground and Ricochet realizing all his mistakes in the background. But ultimately, Shelton got the scissors from Ricochet when he tried to cheat, snapped them. Gates of Agony run down, one headbutt behind the referee's back.
Yeah.
And actually, Ricochet gets the win.
I thought the finish was a bit faffy, a bit like, it's TV, it's whatever.
Yeah.
It sets up more going forward, but the match overall was lovely. Lovely girl.
I feel a bit out of step with the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because they didn't lose the belts properly. I feel like everything was for nothing over the last 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I think it's fair to say that over the past sort of year or so, really since, the end of 2023, World End, AEW sort of had a bit of a falter period. And I think it's fair to say now they're on the way up.
Yeah.
I think it's really engaging. I think they're doing a really good job. Their TV seems streamlined. Their stories are far more focused. I wonder if there's certain things they're just going like, cut the chaff, get rid of it. And it will leave you feeling a little bit like, what we're not, do you know what I mean? What we're not finishing that? I wonder. I don't know.
Speaking of, Hook.
Yeah.
He's still not wrestled a match, I don't think. He got a promo pre-filmed on like a rooftop with a city skyline behind him. And he said that he appreciates that the Ops have his back, but maybe it's time for Hook to stand on his own. Or maybe not.
Oh. So that was the Vegas promo in the world?
What are we doing now?
Yeah.
Just Hook got over because he walks out, there's a bat signal, he's got cool music, and then he beats someone up.
Well, we've stripped the music. He's not beaten anyone up in a while. And at the moment, he doesn't walk out either. So he's not got any of the things.
This is not Juice Robinson levels of bad, where they're like, oh yeah, let's just cut his hair and just put him in normal clothes and just make him like everyone else. But it's not far away.
It's not his thing, is it? It's not. He's not there.
We got what I thought was the best match of the night. Definitely the most fun. Tony Storm versus Sky Blue in a Philadelphia street fight.
Yeah. It was stuff and nonsense, but it was exactly the kind of fun stuff and nonsense that it was intended to be.
Yeah, AEW women's hardcore matches are always so much fun. Tony's dressed as the Sandman, complete with kendo stick and beer can. The first spot almost is Sky Blue stapling Tony's bum, breasts, and vagina.
Great.
We got an RJ City audition videotape being used as a weapon, with the camera closed up on the side.
Very creative weaponry here. Yeah. I really liked it. It was Sky Blue's sign that she had hidden inside a fan sign, so you didn't know it was there. It's like, which for me was like, you didn't need to such a huge one. Like weapons are allowed.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it nonetheless.
Tony revealed a table that had a cover on. She took it off, and under the cover it said, was it like, there's rats around it? So, like rats. And the table was full of mousetraps. With some cheese on.
Yeah, and then she got out another bit of cheese, shared it with Excalibur. You know, lovely.
So goofy.
Delicious. Philly cheese steak.
The table did not break when she was powerbombed onto it.
It certainly did not. But I feel like it's not the fault of the table. It was covered in a lot of things, and that meant the structure of it was completely chaotic.
Oh, you think the mousetraps were load-bearing?
I was looking at the way that table was made, and I was like, I don't think that's going to snap. And then it didn't. And then we had this is one of the moments where I was like, this is the commentary sort of like massaging it into place, where Danielson's like, hey, sometimes it hurts. Fans think it hurts to go through a table. Well, it hurts to not go through a table. And Taz had to be like, it hurts both ways. Yeah, it hurts both ways.
Tony's using an electric fly swatter.
Yeah.
But the finish came with a Storm Zero onto the chair. Really fun.
Yeah.
Tekla and Julia Hart attack her afterwards. Chris Statlander comes for the save. Jamie Hayter comes for the save. But Hayter accidentally hits Statlander. And that lets the Triangle of Madness stand tall.
Yeah. It was... the match itself is there just to have a nice little time on the show, and I thought it achieved that very well.
And it built the four-way.
The post game is really where the story's at.
We're backstage with Renee interviewing Willow, who wants a fight with Marina Shafir. Harley Cameron jumps in, plays a song on her guitar, wanting Willow to get back with Chris Statlander. And Willow said, no, I think she is friends with Marina and she will betray me again like she has already.
I'm like, fool me once, shame on. Fool me, can't get fooled again, is what Willow fundamentally said in that promo.
Did you like, as a musical theatre man, did you like Harley's performance?
No, I did not. It's not Harley Cameron's fault. It's between that and the AJ Lee millennialism, I'm like, oh, we are in Tumblr 2010. She's got a cat face on. She's singing about drawing a cat face on you. Oh, she might as well have been holding a ukulele. For me, it was like, this is a personal thing. I accept it's on me. Everyone else in the world can enjoy it. It was another one of my things where I was like, oh, it's a bit cringe, actually.
Just too random for you.
Too random. I never liked random either. I never liked random. You know, do you remember when people would draw like mustaches on their fingers and be like, Mom?
Yeah.
Or like, they'd like give themselves little cat faces for Dan and Phil. This was not my bag.
There was a graphic giving more information on this unified tournament, which I don't like. Is a tournament if it's 3 qualifying matches for a 3-way?
Yeah, I mean, arguably yes. It's a bracket.
When is a tournament a tournament?
When is a tournament not a tournament? When is a championship not a championship?
It's for Okada's unified title,
which, correct me if I'm wrong, contains the Continental belt.
Yes, the Continental and the other one have been fused.
Yes,
All In.
So there are, but those 2 belts still exist.
Depends how AEW are feeling that week.
Day. Now, okay, so one of these 2 belts that is now contained within the unified belt is the Continental belt, which is the prize for a tournament of sorts.
The Continental Classic. It's a G1 style tournament.
So
with
why
2
don't we
brackets.
just do that? Like, why would you in a tournament for a belt, for a tournament belt? I don't know.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
But Michael Oku's facing Okada, so I don't
is.
care. I want to
watch
see
that.
it. That's on Collision.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch Collision. And the main event was the Bucks, Mox, Claudio, and Yuta versus the Ops and Brodido. This was the $500,000 prize match. Really fun, loads of spots, party match. The Bucks cheat to win. They, like, Nick grabs Matt's feet on the ropes to pin Bandido, so maybe a tag title match will spin off from that. And I also expect, now that the Bucks are getting all that money, we're moving on from the Jobber Bucks.
It's a really nice way to, like, neatly put a line under that. Maybe bit by bit they add back things to it. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
I've loved it, but they have done all the jokes now, so now's the right time.
It's got to a limit, and you're like, okay, great.
But afterwards, some people brawl to the back. Darby Allin runs down to take out Moxley, but then a hooded person jumps Darby.
It's Jimmy Uso.
It's Daniel Garcia.
Oh, it's Daniel Garcia.
And he weirdly does a dragon tamer with a chair beneath him and doesn't put him on the chair. And then he slams Darby on the chair.
Yeah. And then does it again a couple of times just for good measure.
Yeah. So this is following on from Moxley and Garcia's match on Collision.
Yeah.
It was a sort of proving match. If you remember that Wheeler Yuta Moxley match, which was excellent back in the day. So yeah, Daniel Garcia has finally turned heel after what feels like years.
Yeah. And we were saying a couple of weeks ago it was nice when Moxley was first sort of Lady Macbething him in his ear, giving him that kind of like, come and join us. And it was like, oh, a lovely... That's what he says. That's what he sounds like. There's a little bit of like bite can be added to his character. I think it's hugely necessary. I think it would be interesting. What I don't want is for him to just become a body who wears a hoodie. I think it's not dissimilar to Kyle Fletcher at the beginning. When you put a star who has potential alongside other stars and you give them the tools to shine, it's nice when they do. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to see from this.
Overall, good episode.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good episode.
Yeah, really good, solid episode.
I can't wait for it to not be in that arena. I think it will really benefit from moving somewhere else.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the ratings are.
Yes.
As we're recording it, it's not come out yet. I gave it 80%, so 4 out of 5.
Lovely.
I'll show you my workings.
Can't wait.
Because you weirdly question them. Let's see what everyone said in last week's comments. Matt Hennessy writes, because we spoke about Matt Riddle, that weird controversy of last week. And Matt Riddle's career, like what went wrong with the guy?
Yeah.
Matt Hennessy says, Matt Riddle seemed like a guy destined for stardom 3 years ago. That's a women's promotion. I don't know how he could fight there, Matt. From his Arcade Bro run to top feuds with guys like Seth and Roman to main eventing PLEs. He got in his own way with his behaviour and ruined his own career. It's a shame. He's a solid wrestler and the original Bro was such a fun character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's it's tale as old as wrestling time. People don't get out of their own way, isn't it?
Sad about Matt Riddle?
No.
This is one I included to get your thoughts on. This is from Exquisite Corpse.
Oh.
It's about horror movies.
Oh, God.
Luke is very much correct. Elevated horror is a term non-horror fans use to shame serious horror fans for enjoying brilliant cinematic oddities that are perhaps a bit campier, lower budget, lower brow, more extreme, or otherwise more niche. Saying I only enjoy elevated horror is a lot like saying I don't like wrestling because it's fake. Wrestling is fun. Trauma movies are fun. Embrace the fun.
Yeah. We're all wankers. Like, all of us who like things are all... No, we are. We are.
I am not a wanker.
Well, you're a wanker about some things, and it's okay. We all are. I am. I'm a wanker about my musicals. Like, I feel like when the whole elevated horror thing, it's like, if it makes it more palatable to you, fine.
What is I think what everyone wants to know, though, is what is Dan Layton's opinion on elevated horror as a term?
I think it's a wanky term. I think it's a term for wankers. Like, it's whatever. Are you an elevator horror person?
Well, I there's a logical error because if I think it and I'm not a wanker, then it's...
I don't like horror films because I'm a scaredy boy. I'm a little scaredy cat, and I don't like to be jumped, and I don't like things when... And I love a psychological thriller, but I do have to go for a walk in the daytime afterwards and make sure that I'm safe and everything. Like, I check the locks 4 or 5 times. Every genre has an opportunity to take elements from it and play with it in different ways, but ultimately, on a fundamental level, whether it's elevated or not, it's still a horror. And the idea is, I think all horror is valid.
Yeah,
but elevated to elevate something, to take something and take it to a new level, or this is a longer podcast.
It does show though how insecure a lot of horror fans are, though, doesn't it? If I say I like art house horror, they feel like I'm immediately attacking all their favorite films.
Bit, but also that happens with wrestling. When you say I like WWE, and it's like, well, if you like real wrestling, you should like AEW. Mm. Like, what was it? Who's it? Kat Dennings. Kat Dennings tweeted, she was like, oh my God, I watched SummerSlam. Am I into wrestling now? And then someone went, it's really disappointing that you don't like AEW. If you like wrestling, you should like AEW. And it was like, well, way to put off a new fan.
And finally for now, Mr. Kalakis, who was the guy I referenced earlier, whose son had surgery. They've given an update. Mm-hmm. So, OMG, I got to mention. Mm-hmm. Medical update. Surgery went well and he's on the road to a full recovery, although we have noticed some side effects. He now sporadically shouts support WrestleTalk.
It do be like that. Yeah. Maybe during the surgery they put in a little thing, like a Build-A-Bear.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah, so if you hug him too tight, support WrestleTalk. I've told this before. I used to work at Build-A-Bear. It was called the Bear Factory back then. It was one of my first ever jobs. Christmas temp when I was 15.
This is great lore. I love this.
In Bluewater.
Oh, I love Bluewater.
I once farted into a
into a bear?
Into the voice recording box, and I put it inside a bear, and we had it in the back room, and it was very fun.
I hate that. There was so much of that story that I was absolutely enamored of until that moment.
I used to run the children's birthday parties, and I would tell them one-liners. As a 16-year-old.
This is wild.
I found my level. 8-year-old birthday parties, I killed with just loads of one-liner jokes. Anyway, any recommendations before we get out of here? Stuff you've enjoyed the last week?
What have I enjoyed the last week? Not loads. I've just been sort of watching. Oh, I started watching Ted Lasso.
Do you like it
show,
yet?
Guys? Yeah, a couple of episodes in. I think it's quite pleasant.
It's a pleasant show. I've weirdly got a similar recommendation.
Yeah.
So I started watching The Paper, which is the new series in the Office universe.
Oh, yeah.
So in
the extended universe.
In kayfabe, it's the same documentary crew
Got
that
it.
have followed Dunder Mifflin that was bought by another company. They're a paper company, and now it's a newspaper, a local newspaper. But yeah, it's pleasant. I really like it.
Yeah.
But it's missing the big over-the-top characters like a Dwight or a Michael
Sometimes
Scott.
I like my pleasant era. I like watching a show and being like, that was a nice 30 minutes I spent. That's perfectly valid.
In that case, I really recommend it. It's really it's an interesting it's a good satire on the state of local news anyway. And it has quite sweet characters. And it's nice to see a new genuine network sitcom.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like they get made that much.
No, there was one on Disney Plus recently. Oh my gosh, what was it called? It's not called Three's Company. That's a different show. The guy who made Will and Grace has made an old gay men sitcom, and it's got an audience and a laugh track. Nathan Lane's in it, and I'm like, right, that's for me to watch when I've got a bit of time, because sitcoms don't get made now in that way, and I always love a little throwback.
Well, that I guess that's the, what do they call it? 4-camera, 3-camera, multi-camera setups, because it's in front of an audience. But this
one's a single camera.
This is more in that sort of 2005, 2010 golden era where you had 30 Rock, The Office, Peep Show, I guess. Yeah,
to a degree.
That was single camera. It's in a different country, and it is very much single camera. You're right.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all we've got time for today. Thanks very much for joining us. Of course, subscribe wherever you can.
Apparently, there are loads of places.
And go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk, because we will have Monday Night War starting there exclusively, episode 1 onwards, on patreon.com/WrestleTalk.
I can't wait to be able to tell them what the tagline is.
Yes, and we will reveal the theme, which is fantastic. And tomorrow on the WrestleTalk YouTube channel, we have the latest episode of Brainbusters.
Huge.
Which you're in as well.
Is that my one?
It's me versus you
that was a fun
versus
episode.
Sullivan. And we've got a bonus episode of that on Patreon as well. Another reason. But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen. My God.
Luke Owen's friend, Dan Layton.
That was a good outro otherwise. This has been Dan Layton, the truth, the professor. Jam that jam.
Jam it.